Hi everyone! So in this video I want to show you how to do the joins, and this will help you to be able to set up the first part of the blanket, and then the technique that you use to join the left and right side of the initial blanket pieces together is the same technique you'll use to join all of your blocks together. So I already demonstrated in some of the other videos how to make this piece. So this is what I'm calling the left side piece in my pattern, and I apologize for the left-handed crocheters because I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe probably for you guys this would be on your right side like this. And then for the right edge, you're just making regular C2C stitches to make a triangle. And I talk about this more in my C2C video, but this should be pretty straightforward to you if you know how to work C2C. So in the pattern, I tell you on the 4th row to stop when there's 1 stitch remaining. So hopefully you guys can see 1, 2, 3, 4 rows have been worked, and I actually have 1, 2 stitches remaining. So I'm going to make that last second to last stitch by slip stitching, chaining 3, and completing my 3 double crochets. So this is the point where you would stop. I'm going to make 1 more stitch for demonstration purposes, but you would not make this stitch. So what you want to do is get your blanket set up so you have your right straight edge and then this left odd shape linked up in the middle. Like this. And again, like I said, if you're left-handed, you know, this would probably be going like this for you. So remember, I completed the last stitch and you're not supposed to do that. So when I place these pieces next to each other, these 2 stitches are touching. What you want is for these 2 stitches to be stuck together. So they need to be joined, and I'm saying they need to be joined at the top corner and the bottom corner. So I'm going to take the last stitch out. So the pattern says to slip stitch into the last space to begin your last stitch, and then it says to chain 3 to begin your last stitch, and then it says to stop. So you would have something like this. So I hope you guys can see that there's a little square shaped gap right here that's the size of a C2C stitch, and the top of this chain 3 would be the top corner of the C2C stitch that I haven't made yet. So that needs to be connected to this. So you stop after the chain 3 so that you can connect them. So you slip stitch into the chain 3 space of the block on the other side. Now, I'm going to lose my loop. Now your pieces are stuck together, but you still have a gap here because you have not finished your stitch. So you need to do that like you always do. So just pretend like this other piece doesn't even exist and just move it out of the way and work your last 3 double crochets into the space like you always do. It just might feel a little bit funny because you have another piece kind of dangling off, but you're not doing anything with it. Now your last stitch is finished and the 2 pieces are together and touching like they're supposed to be, but they're still not completely joined in both corners. So after you make that last stitch, you need to slip stitch into the corner, and in this case it's this double crochet stitch right here. Now you completed your row 4 and both pieces are attached and you have the straight edge of your blanket started. Hopefully you guys are looking at this and thinking that there's a problem, because the pattern tells you to work 6 rows and you're way down here and you need to be up here to keep working your rows. So you need to get into this space. You could think of it like making a decrease. You know, you want to start your next row in this chain 3 loop of the stitch you already made. You don't want to build a stitch right here because there's already one right here. Or you could just think of it as, I need to get into this space, and you can't just slip stitch into it because, you know, you have 3 double crochet stitches sitting right here. So normally you can pick up your work and orient it whatever way works best for you, but I'm going to try to just keep it like this so you can see. I'm going to just make 3 chains, and now I can lay those 3 chains down and I can reach into this loop. So I'm going to slip stitch there. And then you can turn your work and you're ready to start working. So I'm going to chain 3 and make 3 double crochets. Slip stitch into the next one, chain 3, and make 3 double crochets. So for the sake of time, I'm not going to keep going. But understand that I made 2 stitches, and I would make a 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th stitch all the way up here. And I would be done with row 5. I would have one more row to make. Pretend like this is my last stitch of row 5. I want to continue my straight edge up. So I need to do what I'm calling an increase in the pattern. So row 6 is going to say to start with an increase. So you'll chain 6, work 3 double crochets into the chain, and that'll be your first stitch sitting right here. And then you'll start working in the chain 3 loops off to the side, coming back down for 11. So pretend like I got all the way to the top and I did that, and I'm coming back down. So here I am coming down, 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to make 3 double crochets. So again, please remember, I would have stitches because I would have gone all the way up and then come back down. And then now you can see I have one more stitch to work for row 6, and I have a nice little square shaped gap the size of a C to C stitch. So just like I did down here, again, I'm going to start the stitch by slip stitching into that last space and chaining 3. And the top of the chain 3, remember, is that top corner, and that's the part that we want touching the other stitch. So I'm going to slip stitch into the top corner of that other stitch, and I make that slip stitch into the chain 3 space. Now those 2 stitches are attached at the top, and I have a hole. So I need to finish my stitch by working 3 more double crochets right here in this chain 3 loop like I always do. I'm going to pretend like this green side doesn't even exist. I'm going to pick my work up, yarn over, and just work right here in this loop. 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3. Now my stitch is finished and it fills in that hole nicely, but it needs to be tacked down, so I still need to attach it into the bottom corner. And I do that again by making a slip stitch, and there's this little chain loop. Sorry guys, there's a little chain loop, and I go right there and slip stitch. So this looks a little funny. I just want to remind you that I would have gone up all the way 5 and come down all the way 6. And then that would be my last join. So I would cut this off and be done. If I needed to work another row, just like I did down here, I would chain 3 again and slip stitch into this space and start working on top of those other stitches that aren't here right here. Some of you might be wondering about, well, now you have a chain 3 loop that's just like freely laying on top of some stitches. You know, I don't really think it looks bad because it, you know, I don't know, in normal C2C you would have slip stitched something there anyways. And I'll just show you my blanket. I just made those chain 3s wherever they fell. I didn't try to like hide them or do anything, and honestly they're really not very noticeable on my blanket at all. I haven't had a problem with it, and myself and my kids and my husband, we've all been using the blanket and we haven't had any issues with it, so I wouldn't worry too much about the fact that those chain 3s are on top like that. They just kind of lay there, and I don't really think they get in the way, and they're really not that noticeable. So like I said, this method for joining here is what you would do every time you need to join blocks. That same process. And then just the first time it's different because you have 2 panels that are not connected. So hopefully that helps answer all of your questions. I do have like step-by-step pictures in the pattern, and I'm also, with this video, you'll see I have some more pictures, and I went ahead and annotated the pictures and made some dots and some lines, and if you learn well that way, I think those pictures might be really helpful to you as well.